Considered from NPR News.
So this is KCRW. I'm Larry Perrell. Well, finally, it seems like we've made it. Well, not necessarily back to normal, but at least to some sense of it before the pandemic drove us all indoors. School is back in session. Employees are starting to repopulate offices, and Angelenos are clinking glasses again inside their favorite restaurants. But after more than a year of varying levels of social isolation, some people have found it difficult to venture back into the world and wholeheartedly take part in the activities they used to do, even if they're fully vaccinated. The phenomenon even has a clinical sounding name. It's called cave syndrome. And here with us to talk about it is Cal State University Northridge professor and clinical psychologist Alan Lipscomb. Hi, Alan.
Hello. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for coming on. So, after burrowing indoors for the better part of a year, some people are hesitant to emerge into the light, and it's proving to be a difficult transition. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's because of the anxiety that has been connected with this pandemic. And so over this past year, folks have been in the home. They have read, seen all of these stories about the COVID-19 virus, and it really has impacted people psychologically and also physically. So not feeling safe going outside of the home, not wanting their children to go outside of the home as well.
Is it similar to other types of anxieties as well?
It is similar to maybe that of social anxiety, but it adds a little caveat to that, and that is I am anxious and nervous about engaging with people in places and spaces because of the potential virus, even though I may be vaccinated or not vaccinated at that time. So still that speaks to the psychological impact that it has had on people.
Research has come out that Black Americans are especially concerned about resuming so-called normal life. Out of all the racial groups that have been surveyed, why do you think that is?
I think it has a lot to do with what we saw play out last year and continuing this year with the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, just to name a few. Nothing unique to 2020. What was unique about 2020 is that folks were at home. They were able to see and witness what was happening via social media, via news outlets, etc. And that has really impacted Black folks in the Black community when we look at race-based trauma. And so now that things are starting to lift and people are starting to go back out, for many, many Black folks, it is a fear of going back out and what is going to happen to them physically, not so much about the virus, more so about their physical safety. And we're also seeing an increase in fear of Asian Pacific Islander folks with the increase in Asian hate crimes that are happening.
So let's talk about sort of reintegrating, I guess, into society. What can people do to overcome some of their anxieties about resuming their typical social routines?
I would say start small and start in phases, right? So let's not go for the big kind of shopping, meeting with people, going out to restaurants and bars. Maybe it's just take a walk outside of your house, apartment, etc. Maybe go out for 5 minutes and then build up to that, right? Go up to 15 minutes, then 20 minutes, and maybe throw in some things so that you can begin to tear back into society in ways in which we were doing prior. Although there isn't the kind of normal, going back to normal, this is our new normal. So phasing back in for folks, I think, is the best way to start this.
So how can people make the distinction, right, between whether they do have cave syndrome-like anxieties or are genuinely just playing it safe amid the pandemic?
Absolutely. I think if it's impeding upon their daily functioning, if it's impacting relationships, if it's impacting their employment, occupation, etc., then that's when we're looking more at cave syndrome. If they're just taking safety precautions and they're waiting to see, they're checking the numbers, things of that nature, that is what we see within appropriate kind of behavior, quote unquote.
Anything that people can do, like mental or breathing exercises that can help them kind of ease back into things?
One of the things I always say is practice grace in space. And what I mean by that is be fair with yourself. And so in being fair, sometimes we need to pause, take a deep breath, hold it for 3, release it for 3, and just repeat that 3 times. And in those moments when folks are starting to feel anxious and overwhelmed, just do 3 by 3. 3 in, hold, 3 out, hold.
There you go. Alan Lipscomb is a Cal State University Northridge professor and clinical psychologist. Alan, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.